walk in the office today.
This is how I feel.
Well, you could do it that way.
Get a job application for me the next day. No. I think, man, I hate when words like this come to my head. I think it is part of feeling like it is my job to keep the peace in that moment than to push back sometimes. And that would be something that would be subconscious from home, which is really annoying when you find those things. But I know as a kid there were times, small example, my sister and time management aren't even on the same planet. So my family felt it was important that we go to church together and we go to church activities together. Even if I'm ready and she is not, I'm going to be late because we go as a family. And that rule would just, we're 15 minutes from church and there's one car to go and
Sure.
I can't drive. So boo for me. But we would get places late and I would start taking the hit instead of letting it be Aaron, to where the person in charge is like, you guys are late again. I'd be like, yeah, I fell asleep, or yeah, I overslept, or something along those lines. That's not the biggest example of me doing that, but it is an example. And that martyrdom feeling to it, that this is the right thing to do because I'm at least stopping this person from getting hurt as much, I think can show up in moments where I'm too much in my head, hearing a person who I know has stuff they need to deal with, and not being willing to just tell them anyways that this is what you're doing right now, this is how I feel. It's easier to just let them be them, and I'm a good person because I'm not calling them out every single time, even though there's a lot of healthy things to come out of not calling them out rudely, but naming something every single time it happens to help someone learn how often they're doing it.
All right. So you've identified over-responsibility, which is to take on more responsibility than legitimately belongs to you.
Yeah.
And that you're identifying that's still a pattern in some ways. Is that I'm hearing you kind of connect dots.
I'm laughing because of little things that show that.
Sure.
You ever played board game Risk?
Mm-hmm. Been years, but yeah.
I like to play a lot. I know about the content bonuses and stuff like that. I get really annoyed if someone doesn't attack someone who has a bonus, and so I will cross the world to ruin my chance. Make sure that person that I'm mad at myself now. It is literally in that kind of thing that I can see that same trait showing up. I guess to be happy with myself that I noticed it, but mad at the same time that over responsibility is a thing. And it's hard for me to differentiate the over responsibility, now that I can name that, from how can I lead well. And on paper and in most of the times, I know that my age does not determine who I can lead. I spent 3 years also being a very young person at a church and didn't have any problems leading folks there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problem leading lay folks here. This is obviously the biggest staff I've been on, and probably the first time I wasn't directly empowered to lead other staff people. There was never an opportunity, other than our office manager and part-time people. I was empowered to lead some of them, but to come into an already existing situation with full-time people and not have any guidance on who's leading who and how that dynamic works, and then when I ask for clarity, have it be we're a team. I think that leads me then to going more into being over responsible and feeling like I have to somehow lead from behind. And then I don't really know what that looks like in this place. And so right now it looks like being over responsible. And until I build up the credit to say something.
Yeah, a pattern of there are all sorts of tentacles to that over responsibility thing, and to me, it falls under, at least my thought, over functioning. We have a clarinet.
I was gonna say, do you ever wish there was a soundtrack to your life?
I never wished that it was clarinet music. So how do we, if over responsibility is a way of engaging or being functioning in an over functioning kind of way. So, I mean, the next question for you, I would invite you to think about and maybe develop some guiding principles around it, would be how will I go about observing myself and make note of when I'm being over responsible? You might want to take make a list of how being over responsible. What does that function like? How's that functioned? What behaviors does that instill? So what am I looking for? Okay, and being, I think, self-observational is a huge. One of the best things that we can do for ourselves.
Yeah. In
my opinion, is to intentionally make note of our behaviors and how we. I was with one of your classmates, and I just found myself doing something that I don't normally do, and I said, "I'm not going to do that." Okay, and I'm going to stop doing that. So, just being able to then name it and claim it for what it is when you're engaging in it, and then as you develop those guiding principles around them, how you want to behave, and it gets a little easier. But it's practice.
Yeah. And I think writing it down, like in a book or a notebook or something, sounds like a really good idea to me. There's a small part of me that's like, another thing to write down. But it would probably be really good to be able to reflect, even if it's just like bullet pointed. Like, this is how today went. These are examples I think were of, I don't even know, it's healthy functioning. These are examples I think were of over, under, whatever.
Sure.
And then that would be really good in a month if I look back at what I thought was good functioning and see if it's still good functioning. Or if it's, okay, that was good then, but now that I am working on this, what is good to me now? Not that you ever reached a promised land, but I think it would be good to look back and see what I thought was good and then realize, well, actually that was me acting out of this. I think that would be a good, I don't know what that would be considered in terms of CPE terms, but I think it'd be a good practice to get into.
Well, it sounds like a great learning goal to me.
Wonderful. Yeah. That's actually would be pretty easy. I could just keep a notebook at work and just at the end of the day write in this is how it went. Because given the nature of CPE, I'm usually at the office last, and so it'd be easy to keep it there and not have to make too big of a deal about it. I think that would be a good learning.
Yeah, and it sounds like, you've already imagined now that there could be some advantages to being able to to identify and practice the behaviors you want to demonstrate.
Yeah, because I know, I realize, and I probably don't need to state this, but I might be over responsible for the moment. I know I also have my own insecurities that are going into this. I like to think mine aren't nearly as bare as other people's are, but no, that plays a role in how hearing their or seeing theirs to what feels like to me so evidently. It makes me question a lot of things and why that's happening, and then it gets flipped to, am I doing something that's making this happen? Which I think trains back into the over responsibility, and like I don't want to say something because of how I think I'm going to come across, even though I'm at now doing to them what they are doing to me by assuming how they're going to react, which is a fun thing that happened in like a split second to just have that going around your head. So I think by keeping that log, one, I can stop myself from getting cynical, which I think would be when I feel like there's no hope and it's all's lost. But two, help me to process how I'm feeling that day, too, and see if that has any trend to how I've reacted in my interactions that day. Sounds really like that would be a really healthy practice to have, and hopefully I'm actually going to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be helpful. You know, the CP is built on the action, reflection, action model.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think the reflection piece and then the reintegration, you know, I almost wish instead of action, reflection, action, and it would be action, reflection, integration. That because we're going to be doing something different. We're taking something else besides what we originally did.
Yeah.
We're taking something else into the process. So, at least for me, when I'm doing the reflection piece, yeah, I'm getting really microscopic on a particular situation, particularly it's something that I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to blow that up to be able to take a macro look at it and say, all right, this behavior had this consequence here. And when that situation is similar in the future, but where else does that behavior show up? And how does it affect my my functioning in ministry overall? How does it affect my functioning at home overall? So being able to look at it through the microscope, but then also to be able to look down
Step
on the
back.
planet from a satellite
Yeah.
and look at it larger
Yeah.
as well.
That makes sense. Sorry if I laugh in a second. I'm trying really hard to ignore the clarinet. But no, I think I'm almost. I think I would be able to do that a lot better if I had stuff written down and could see it.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense for me. I like having notes in front of me. I really wanted to be the auditory learner in high school. Like some of my friends were, and I wasn't. I had to write notes. And even with stuff like running and all that, I want to log what I'm doing. So I think it makes a lot of sense to do that. And then I think that could really easily get tied into the centering prayer that I want to be doing too. To have that be a part of that time. And I think the reminders that I'm not just in a vacuum doing this, that it's part of my walk with God too. I think those would be really healthy things for me to do, and probably help me not feel so like teenage angsty all the time.
Well, you're not that young.
That's true.
You're too old to feel teenage angsty.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's just 20. My buddy's, quick tangent, my buddy's girlfriend of 3 years, they're having issues, but it was along the lines of she's not sure what she wants anymore, even though he had tried to break up with her and she wouldn't let him. And she also told him she felt trapped in the relationship. And his mother was just like, but what? Just like trying. I had asked Josh before we talked. I was like, do you want me to ask you guiding questions? He goes to seminary too. I was like, or do you just want this to be Sean and Josh? I was like, just Sean and Josh is fine. He's like, thank God I can just like say stuff. But
well, I think that that's a really important observation to make, that when you're with a friend or a family member
mm-hmm.
who's bringing something forward that they're experiencing, that they're having some feelings about, I hear that as a wise way of saying, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
Because I can put on this hat if you want me to put on this
mm-hmm.
hat, but this is what our relationship has been.
Yeah.
And if that's helpful, we can stay there.
I felt like it gave me permission to, well, be a little more honest in some things. Not honest, but forthright in saying things. But yeah, knowing that I at least had his permission to say something. And later on I was like, look, you know how I feel and you can take that for what it's worth, and I'm not going to, I love you either way, whatever happens in this. But I appreciated that question even popped in my head, to ask that, to make sure that I wasn't, if he was looking for just help processing, then hearing me say things was not necessarily going to be the most helpful. It was supposed to be a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So help have an idea of what was supposed to come out of the
mm-hmm.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay.
Are we at time?
We're running out of time. I still need to write some notes for your process reflection. I've read it a couple times, but I haven't had the time to actually to write things down. So I'll get to that by the end of this week.
And I'll just respond. I can respond that
Sure,
way.
you can respond that way. That'd be fine. We've still got about 4 minutes. If there's anything else you want to...
That's the other thing that popped in my head, out of nothing connect that we're talking to right now. When I was giving, I don't know if Linda told you, I gave communion a few weeks ago, and there was a resident from this side of the world that came over to help with communion. Or not to help with communion, but to help just to be there with somebody. I think she was with Thelma. And so she offered to help me with communion.
Sure. Okay.
So I was like, sure, you can. And made a rookie mistake and handed her the juice instead of the bread. And we were going over to Dick, and I took a step back and turned to go to the next person. I just hear this like cling, and she like emptied the chalice like onto Dick's shoulder.
Oh no.
And it was this moment of like,
Dick Marzoff?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I kind of looked at the I call them carries, there are the CNAs. Like, the CNAs for a second, they kind of seemed like, well, this is funny.
Wish I had a video.
Yeah, I was going to say. And so I was like, Dick, I'm so sorry. And it was one of those, I think he handled it really well. And I think he thought it was funny. But he was pausing to tell me his response. It was one of those just like, this is the longest 3 seconds. Just say it's okay. That's all I need you to do. And so he toughed it out. We finished communion and I came back and I was like, Dick, again, I'm so sorry that it's happened. And he's like, it was cold. And I was like, did you remember your baptism? And he goes, well, I was baptized in a pool in Sweden. So yes. Just trying, like, I can't react too much because I don't want to destroy this person's will to be part of doing communion, and I also feel like I need to honor the fact that, like, yeah, it sucks. You just got dumped with grape juice. So, remembered his baptism. It's in Sweden, and thankfully somebody changed him and got him all set up.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, he has a real wry sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I like Dick. I
Yeah.
like Dick a lot. So.
I need to get to talk to him more. I feel like it's hard to string together hours that are good for people here.
Mhm.
And I know that's just the nature of what we're doing. So I'm hoping I get a chance to talk to him this morning at some point. That devotion on Thursday, he pretty much said he was too old for this. And it's just really funny when people like want, it's not funny because they can't leave themselves. It's like, I'm too old for this, and you expect them to like walk away, and it's like, wait a minute.
I can't
I
walk.
can't. I don't make the dramatic exit. I'm just going to stay here and tell you I'm too old for this. I'm like, okay, Nick, we'll hang on for a minute. They're fun characters.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Alrighty.
Yes. So I will see you probably tomorrow, actually.
All right.
We should be here to at least help with chapel now.
Great.
Or stretched around this week.